All right, welcome back to the Christian Tag video series. This is part 2, Deuce, Dose. And the first Christian Tag video you can find right here. But I highly suggest watching this one since you're here, and then watching that one. Or actually, go ahead and watch that one, then watch this one. They're both fun, so it doesn't matter what order. Now I'm just rambling. But it doesn't matter what order you watch them in. But so let's just get into it and get started. So let's get this started with number 11. How do you openly share your faith? That's a hard one because I know by these videos you might think I'm an extrovert, but I'm very much an introvert. And so I like to have very deep personal conversations with a few people, and I'm not a big groups guy, kind of a thing. So I like that real nice interpersonal thing. So in those situations and in those environments, I'm very open. A table with 3 other people, I'm there. I'm a big fan of small groups. I'm there. Big fan, like being a part of those. In big groups and stuff like that, it's extremely challenging for me. Also, in non-faith environments, it is challenging because I do worry about what people think about me. So, like, when I was working in gyms regularly, it was difficult for me to talk about my faith because I didn't want HR situations. Those always were in the back of my mind, and was sad because I was management. I was always worried about that. But in that, one of maybe the best events I've had in the last year or so when I was working at the gym I was working at was a time when I sat down with one of my employees and was talking to him about my faith and his faith and all of that. And it was in that I really think it shined some light on for him and his walk, and it encouraged me to do it more often. So hopefully via these videos you're getting a better vibe of and I'm improving my ability to openly share about it. Number 12, what Bible verse gives you the most hope? You should probably click that link and go see question number 2 if you really want to know the answer to that. But Deuteronomy 31:6 is really a verse that pretty much covers the gamut of everything in my life. Question 13. What belief do you hold that might not be consistent through all Christian faith? This one's a fun one. Because if you've watched this channel, there's kind of a blanket statement that I believe that not a lot of Christians believe. But in that, I think if more Christians thought about it, they might actually believe it. And that is that the Old Testament is not only is it a history, but it's also a way that we should live. The laws in Deuteronomy and Leviticus, I really do believe we as Christians should pay more attention to, and that God gave them to the Israelites to live a holy life and live a life close to Him. And I know personally I want to live a holy and life that is close to God, so why wouldn't I go with the way that God laid it out? I know that there's a whole Jesus came and so salvation and whatnot. I don't think the laws have anything to do with my salvation, but in that I think that this is kind of the blanket logic I used, and it made sense, so I'm going to give it to you. Most people read the Bible or try to read the Bible in a year. They do that whole reading the Bible from cover to cover type of a thing. You wouldn't start the New Testament till October. So, you're going to read the Bible for 9 months, and you wouldn't get to Jesus until the 10th month. So for 9 months, you literally would think that that is the way that you should live. That sounded a lot better in the conversation I had with the person, but it's the argument of most people don't believe that we should keep the Old Testament laws because of Jesus, but I really think that Jesus even talks to it in a sense that we should. And I'm going to be making a video, and I literally just wrote the script for it a half hour ago. So subscribe, and that way you don't miss it. But it's about the dietary laws and if we should keep them and whatnot. And I really go into a more in-depth synopsis on why I believe we should keep the dietary laws. Spoiler alert, but yeah. So subscribe and you will then see that video and you'll be able to go way more in depth into my logic of this. Question 14. Have you read the Bible in full? Yes, I have read the Bible in full. Cover to cover, and then, segments of it. This is kind of one of those more I told you this second video was going to be more controversial. I truly believe that every Christian should read the Bible cover to cover at least once in their life. It's how it was given to us, and so by jumping around, I think that people get the wrong viewpoints on certain things. To use a weird analogy, you're not gonna, if I was to give you the Harry Potter books in one book, you're not gonna jump around and whatnot. You would read it from start to end. Star Wars, you wouldn't just watch the 5th one without watching the 4th one. Those kind of things. So that's why I think everybody at least once should read the Bible cover to cover, and read it as if you don't know what's going to happen. That's when I think, that's when I personally have found the most eye-opening things. 15, do you do devotionals? Yes, I do devotionals. I enjoy getting other people's viewpoints on things. I love the Bible app. That thing's got 1,000 devotions in it. What I also like about it is not even getting other people's viewpoints, but it's an easier way to find sections of the Bible that talk about certain things that you might want to read about, if that makes sense. So if depression and anxiety is a thing that you struggle with, there's tens of devotionals about that, and it gives you the Bible verses that correlate to that instead of having to search for it yourself. But yeah, no, I'm a big fan of devotionals. 16, what are your views on politics and religion, or the combination of the two? This is a fun one and will probably be more controversy and hate in the comments. Leave a comment. I'd love to hear your views on this as well. I am a big fan of the United States history. I like politics, and I like to understand people's views on them, and I like having those open conversations with people. With that said, I'm a firm believer in the separation of the two. So that is where I have the most difficulty in them. And it's best shown in an actual scenario. So let's just go for the big one, abortion. Abortion, I as a Christian view it as murder. So I vote for it not being legal. With that said, I also understand the viewpoint of the people that are pro-abortion in the realm of you have the ability to do with your body what you want to do. I then have more of the argument of then who's talking for the fetus, but that's a whole nother thing. But the it is hard to be a Christian and an American at the same time. And it goes back into the of the world type of a situation in the flesh. But in that, long story short, I tend to vote on more on the conservative side. In that, I do think that we need to really start loving people better. And that is what I personally feel like the Democrat or liberal side is trying to do. I just don't agree with how they want to do it. But as a conservative Republican, I think we need to love people better, if that makes sense. If it doesn't, ask me in the comments down below, and I will hopefully make more sense to you there. 17. If you could meet Jesus right now, what would you say and do? If Jesus walked in right now and said, "Hi Tyler, how's life?" I would probably freak out. But I would hope that I would be able to talk. But also, I would like to thank him. I think I would like to thank him. There's the funny, sarcastic part of me that would love to be like, hey, I'd love to go back to the theater room with you and you can pop in some of the tapes and I want to see who the background to who killed JFK and all those, are there aliens and all those fun questions. But I would hope that my first thing I would say to Jesus or God is thank you. 18. What is the silliest thing you've prayed for, and where is the weirdest place you have prayed? The silliest thing I've prayed for is probably any of those random Christmas prayers that I prayed, or before, for dear God, I want a PlayStation, or, before a test in high school, those silly, looking back, very silly types of prayers. The weirdest place I've prayed is in, this is a good story, in Venice Beach. A buddy of mine went and tried the sensory deprivation tanks. Basically, picture a thing that's bigger than a coffin, but it's basically a coffin that is filled with water. They throw a whole bunch of Epsom salts in there, enough that if you are in the water, you float. And they heat the water to 98.6 degrees and 98.6. Sorry, I just heard 98 and I was like thinking about the boy band. But that's a completely different conversation. They heat the water, they close it in on you, it's pitch black and it's soundproof, and it's supposed to relax you and just be this trippy event. I'm not condoning this. I was not under the influence of anything, but people tend to be under the influence, and it's a thing. But it's also a really cool way to recover your muscles and your mind and stuff like that. About 5 minutes into it, after getting adjusted to it and just kind of feeling like I'm floating in nothing, I basically started to pray. And it was really interesting and a very impactful prayer, because I didn't have the outside world distracting me, which was a plus. And after, I honestly was in there for like 2 hours, and then after it getting out of it, light's a lot different, your eyes kind of feel weird. It was a nice, It was nice after praying for such a long time and in such a deep way to come out of the darkness. That's probably the nicest way to word that. 19. How do you bring prayer into your daily life? And do you believe in healings and tongues? It's kind of like 3 questions in one. But how do I bring prayer into my daily life? I try and start every day with praying to God. I try and end every day praying with God. I try to pray at least once with my wife and 2 kids. Usually it is at dinner. And because my little boy is only 3 months old, I don't pray with him that much. But I do pray with my daughter, who is almost 3, every night before we go to bed. Just to get her kind of in that ritual and understanding. But yeah, I try and pray throughout the day, especially when I need focus and I need when I'm faced with a decision that I'm not really keen on what the best outcome is. That's when I tend to pray the most. So, healing and tongues. Yes, firm believer in healing. I think that is still good today. Have I been a part of it? No. But yes, I have witnessed things that can only be considered a miracle, I guess you would say. But in that, it wasn't like my hand on somebody or I saw it, but I saw the aftermath of it. Somebody was really sick, and after a bunch of people were praying for them, it wasn't as big of a sickness as a thing. You know, those types of things. I think that is God at work. Those situations where at the end of the day, medical sciences can't explain it, but people are getting healed. I think that's it. And you could go on Google right now and you're going to find a lot of examples of that. Speaking in tongues. Yes, I think that speaking in tongues is just like the practice of healing. Is today, can be done, and all that. With that said, I do believe that it is used inappropriately a lot of times. There's a verse, and I can't remember it off the top of my head, but basically it talks about tongues. And the way I read that verse is that if somebody is speaking in tongues, there will always be somebody there to translate it so that everybody understands what's going on. So in that, I have, the way I read the verse makes me believe that I have never experienced tongues in the first person. I've seen people in the front do some weird stuff, but I don't, not trying to judge and hate people, but I don't know if I fully believe that was tongues. I think it could have been just more of a overzealous worship, which I'm not saying is a bad thing. It is what it is. Number 20. If Jesus was to come back today, would you be ready? I'd like to say yes. I mean, I believe I'm going to heaven. If the rapture was to come today, I believe I'm going to heaven. But if Jesus showed up today and said, let's all go, there is that part of me of the unknown. There's a part of me that's excited about that because it's heaven. That's cool. I really enjoy being a dad, and I'd like to experience some of my daughter and son's life, and I enjoy being married to my wife. And so there's that, and how the family relationship works in heaven, I'm not fully aware of. So in looking at this question, I question that and would like to know more about that. So that's really the only thing that would, if I could be like, time out, Jesus, let's not come back yet. I'd like to do that. I'd like to walk my daughter down the aisle. I'd like to be at my son's sporting event, those types of things. But I mean, it's heaven, so it's like the best thing ever. So, but yeah, I guess I'd be ready for it. So that's part 2, you guys, of the Christian tag. Thank you so much for watching. I think with these tags things, you're supposed to tag people. So since I'm on YouTube, I think like the cool thing to do is to tag Logan Paul. No, I'm just well, no, I mean if Logan Paul wanted to do this, that'd be cool. But I don't know if he's a Christian. Does anybody know that? That's a completely different thing. But yeah, Logan Paul, if you want to do this, I'll put the questions in the description down below. That would be a fun vlog for you. Let's tag my buddy Tommy. There's his picture there, his channel picture there. His link will be down below. Let's do Peter from Broski. Let's tag him. And last but surely not least, let's go big. Let's go Cliff Ravencraft. This is a guy that I have communicated with a little bit on Facebook, just basically comments. But he has greatly impacted my life just by what he's doing and his podcasts and his content that he does in a business sense. And I know that he has shared his faith before, so it would be interesting to get his views on these questions as well. So Cliff Ravencraft, Tommy, and Peter over at Broski, tag, you're it. So that was the Christian tag video, you guys. Thank you so much for watching. If you're new to this channel and you want to lose weight and gain faith, hit that subscription button. That way you don't ever miss a video. And if you like what we're doing here, hit that thumbs up or share it with your friends or family or Facebook groups that you're on. Get the movement going. And with that, like always, you guys, God bless, finish strong, and I will see you in the next video.